Hi, everyone, and welcome to the monthly podcast with the one and only Mr. Scotty Sachs, head of Sovereign Radio, one of our affiliate partners on that channel. Has been gracious to join us back. Been a little bit, so we're happy to bring him back during the pivotal holiday season in which we find ourselves. And we're going to have some good, meaty discussions, as we always do, about things geopolitical, personal, and financial. So we'll see where the conversation takes us. If you're new to the podcast, please do like, subscribe, and share. Helps the channel grow and others to gain in the knowledge you're currently being afforded. As you know, Scotty is the CEO of Sovereign Radio. He has a robust marketing and advertising background in a whole variety of verticals, and he brings that expertise with him to the channel. He's been on many, many different podcasts over the years, including how we both met through Phoenix PIR, who I was a longtime member, and some of you followed me over from there, like you, Andy White, watching. And we appreciate your support. And I'm honored to have him back on once again, Mr. Scotty Sachs. How are you doing today, brother?
Hey, John, good to be with you again.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to you.
Same to you, my friend.
All right, sir. Well, I want to respect your time in the audience, as you know, as always. So let's dive into what we're going to talk about, obviously. Let's start at the beginning where it matters the most. I think everyone, regardless of political assuasions or personal interest, be it geopolitical, financial, everybody agrees it's about the children. It's always been, it will always be. We are all God's children, so it gets back to that. And I'm referring to human trafficking and the status of that, what the military is doing in terms of collecting up bad guys through the OFAC list, through Doge, through many other portals. You have some information I think you'd like to talk about and share. So, where do you see things progressing with the recovery and protection of children globally as we speak?
Well, John, you can't really talk about human trafficking without tying and connecting the dots. Human trafficking means pedophilia, it means satanic rituals and adrenochrome, and it's really a dark, dark place to go. But I want your audience to be clear. When you say human trafficking, the demand for the kids is due to pedophilia, the satanic rituals, and the use of the children's blood for adrenochrome. So it's a very serious thing, and you're right, it's about the kids. And we endeavor to expose this at every corner, at every chance we get, and that's why we're here talking. Um, it is a couple hundred years at least old, maybe goes back even further than that. But isn't it interesting, John, that governments can give you statistics dollar wise and children wise, and the US is up there number one or two in all stats. If governments contract this, they ought to be doing something about it. And up until Donald John Trump, no president, no administration that we see any noticeable impact from an administration doing anything about this. Finally, we have an administration that is very, very active and I would say hell-bent. This is an administration that shares our sentiment. It's all about the kids. And they are doing things, and I know firsthand because I do have a good friend who is working with Tom Homan and Homeland Security as an intelligence contractor. And his role is got software and apps and all kinds of things that track the traffickers and the children. They have saved some 60,000 children in since Trump came back to office in 2020, would have been January 2025, right? That he came back. So in just this year, they have saved 60,000 kids. They're working day and night on this challenge, and it is a challenge because the traffickers have deep-seated roots, including underground tunnels, as you and I know. And that's where the focus is, John. They're trying to destroy the tunnels and have been. There's 30 nations working together. That's the most interesting aspect of this is it's a global problem. It's a global infrastructure, a global trafficking ring, if you will, multiple rings that include cartels, corporations, NGOs. Let's go to the heart of who's behind this. The World Economic Forum, has funded many a trafficking ring, multiple NGOs, corporations we know have been involved in trafficking. I won't name them because we don't have the receipts right now, here and now, and I don't want to name specifics other than the World Economic Forum and many of the globalist entities. And of course, we know that the cartels are a byproduct of the globalist agenda. So everything goes back to the agenda, John. And fortunately, we are making headway. When I say we, I'd say this 30 nation consortium of military that's operating globally now to save the kids. And they are making a dent in the problem. And it's the only subject that really rattles me to my core. I can talk about any one of these subjects that we talk about, and we'll talk about, continue to, from Islam Caliphate coming to the West to push Sharia law and implement Sharia law, to the financial reset, um, the corruption of our medical system, our political system. You name the topic. This is the one that really slows me down and really hits me in the gut, because I have a daughter, and I've often thought about the parents out there that are not wittingly or willingly trafficking their kids. Now, there are some parents, and I know, that have trafficked willingly and wittingly trafficked their children. But by and large, it's a criminal enterprise. Parents aren't coming forward en masse offering up their children. It does happen, but children are taken from the streets. They're taken from Disneyland and Disney World. Interesting tunnels under those
Yep.
places. You and I have heard there's tunnels under the White House that have been utilized in past years for trafficking children to very high-powered people in this country, namely presidents and senators and Congress people. Um, it's a huge, huge industry. And it is now in 2025 the first time that globally there's been a organized effort to save the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're making a lot of progress. As I said,
Hmm.
60,000 kids this year from the one organization. Now, my friend that's working for Homan is only one of many entities that's working on this problem. So there's a lot of effort being put behind it. That's the good news.
Right. So thank you, Scotty. So let's stay on the bend that you had about Tom Homan and your connections to him indirectly. Um, I think I'm not trying to be presumptuous for the audience, but I could see a situation whereby someone in our audience is wondering this. I'm wondering it as well. Um, we're now at the tail end of 25, quickly going into 26, right? Because we see time is quantum wise is just speeding by. I mean, I still can't believe we're at the end of this year already. But the question is a good one that begets it. From what you can tell and what you can intimate from your contacts with your person that knows Tom Homan directly, when do you surmise? So we lost you on the signal there, Scotty, but you got your background back now authentically, which is great. It seems that somebody doesn't want us talking about this subject. Maybe that's why we got cut off errantly.
Yeah, we got shut down right in the middle, John. It happens from time to time. We're talking about a very sensitive subject matter, and I
Yep.
just made an accusation of tunnels underneath the White House. So we know that our podcasts, our conversations are listened to.
Hmm.
I don't believe they're actually people, but they're bots, and there's
Right.
trigger words and there's keywords they're looking for. And we probably touched upon a lot of them today already in just 20 minutes, right?
We spooked them. We
Yeah.
went down a dark tunnel they don't want us going. No pun intended. So what we were saying before we got rudely interrupted. So with your connections to Tom Homan indirectly, I think one of the questions I could see that people want to know, hopefully most people, and I want to know as well, is, and I'm not holding a gun to your head or anything like that, but the best you can determine, when might people on the public side, all of us know this, but for our families, our friends, we're all looking for the truth and the justice to come out. Some it's for vindication. Most people, it's just for the principle of it, as it should be. When do you surmise people will see the public arrest, the exposure of pedophilia and trafficking, and just how deep and wide the scope of this disgusting, nefarious atrocity has gone?
Well, John, timing of everything, the reset, the truth and exposure of all these nefarious activities from the Federal Reserve to the trafficking rings, that is the $1 million question, is the timing. And I believe since it is a military operation, and you and I know that this is all about the military is running the show. They do not work on timelines. The military works on mission. Since it's mission based, not timeline based, I believe that's probably a flexible date, but we're getting close. Nobody knows the date. There's no leaks. Um, I haven't asked that question to my source that's connected as a contractor, intelligence contractor to Homeland's and Homeland Security, but I think we just sense it and we know it. We're upon it. The time is upon us, and I would not be surprised if between now and let's say first quarter, the whole truth and nothing but the truth comes out. As you and I have heard, there's going to be an event, an EBS emergency broadcast system will be deployed. I keep hearing about an 8 hour education reel that'll be played um, in 8 hour increments that is going to reveal a lot of this truth as to the coverage of the human trafficking and pedophilia. Uh, I don't know how much they're going to lay out. The worst of it, and I'll say it again, satanic rituals and adrenochrome, I've been exposed to uh, firsthand and secondhand. And I think you may know the stories, but as far as satanic rituals, I've had several people on my show, Sovereign Radio, that have spoken to this, have seen it firsthand, namely Victor Avila, Special Agent Victor Avila, Customs and Border Agent that infiltrated the cartels and saw firsthand the trafficking of children and the satanic rituals that they covered. I've had guests on the show, Lynn Scott Haggard. She was at birth to 5 years old, trafficked. Her mother wittingly and willingly trafficked her to Nazi experimentation and under underground at some medical facility, underneath a medical facility. She does not know all the details because she was very young, but it's all come back to her through a lot of therapy and sessions with professionals. Adrenochrome, something I saw firsthand, John. I think I told you the story. I was at a Hollywood party in the late 90s, and there were rooms for everything from sex to drugs and rock and roll. And one of those rooms, I asked very specifically, what is going on in that room? Because it was very hush hush. The other rooms, it was pretty known. There was coke and pills and sex going on in rooms. And I asked, what's going on in the one room? People were very kind of timidly sneaking in and out of this one room. And one of the gentlemen who was an actor in the show L.A. Law, that was the host of the party, was one of the stars of L.A. Law. Uh, I won't say his name, Corbin. Yeah, indeed. This party was
Wow.
a Super Bowl party. I went there to watch the game and meet people and meet some interesting people, and I did. But I didn't understand. I didn't know what adrenochrome was back then. And the guy explained it to me, and cognitive dissonance kicks in. I didn't believe him. I'm like, oh, come on. And I kept saying to him, come on, what are you talking about? This is not the world we live in. And he kept saying, listen, you can believe what you want, but you asked me and I'm telling you what's going on. So this whole confluence of events, the human trafficking is done because there's pedophiles. There's consumption of the kids, and hey, in some cultures, it's acceptable. Uh, in the Islamic Caliphate world, under Sharia law, it is perfectly acceptable to marry and engage in physical contact with a 9 and 10-year-old girl. Oh, but they will explain to you they wait until they have their periods before they have sex with them. Well, which could be at 11, 12, 13 years old, right? They go through puberty, they have their first period, and then the men are having sex with them. So this is out in the open in some cultures, John. It's not hidden. Most of America, the human trafficking and pedophilia, the satanic rituals, and the use of adrenochrome is all hush hush QT. Nobody's openly talking about it. That's why many of us have cognitive dissonance. And I'm sure you have friends or family when you talk about these subjects, they're in denial, like I was at this party, which was, I believe, 98 or 99, if I remember the year correctly, in complete denial. And I walked around for till 2009 when I finally woke up and smelled the coffee and did my due diligence and went down the rabbit holes. It all started with G. Edward Griffin's The Creature of Jekyll Island. And once I understood the financial system and the crooks, the Federal Reserve, the banking system that has enslaved us, I'm sure you agree. It's a system of slavery. Once I understood that, I'm like, well, what else is there? And maybe I should have believed this guy when he told me about adrenochrome. And of course, we know the whole, as I said, confluence of events, the pedophilia, the satanic rituals, the adrenochrome. It's all real, and it's so hard to wrap our arms around these things. But as for timing, back to your question, I don't think anybody knows when this will become public. We know it will become public. We know they'll give us details to some extent on this subject. I don't know. We know they're going to expose the criminals, the globalist criminal cabal will be exposed. They'll name names. They'll perp walk some of them. I believe people like Obama. Uh, I believe he may be the first perp walk. We're waiting for a perp walk, right? Everybody wants to see somebody publicly arrested and shamed. Uh, you and I understand there's military tribunals going on. Comes from multiple sources. A lot of them are offshore on ships, and some of them are at Gitmo. But this is going on behind the scenes now. Some of these people involved in trafficking and criminal, uh, globalist criminal cabal players are being tried. There's still about 400,000 sealed indictments, and that's online. You can go to, I forgot the name of the website. I'll get you a link. You can put it in the show. Um,
Thank you.
there are 400,000 sealed and federally sealed indictments still to be unsealed, and there could be multiple arrests on each indictment. I think up to 99. So we're talking upwards of 5 million people that could be arrested in conjunction with this subject and many others, as we know.
Mhm.
The mortgage fraud that's been going on, that's been exposed now at a epic level in
Right.
communities. Assistant Sheriff Sean Taylor at the Millersville, Tennessee Police Department has uncovered a ring of 17 cities of mortgage fraud, from local politicians to bankers to sheriffs, um, businesses involved in this mortgage fraud scheme that's brought a lot of money to the forefront, and money is used for these kinds of things. So it is such an intricate network of money and people and criminals, to say the least. It's such a sickening criminal enterprise, and the date can't come soon enough. So
Yeah.
I don't know, John. I don't think we all have a feel for this. We'd like to think it's imminent and that it's coming in the first quarter of 2026. I've had people tell me it's still going to happen this year. I'm running out of confidence that it's going to happen. Anything's going to happen before Christmas now,
Mhm.
but anything is possible, right? All it takes is a day. God can do a lot of work in 24 hours.
He's done it before. He'll do it again. Exactly.
Yep.
I was taking mental notes, Scott. Thank you for that. As you were sharing copious details there. So we're roughly now in the middle of December, 2 weeks before Christmas at the time of this broadcast. I was thinking as you were sharing, I'm here for the moment in LA, not much longer, but on my way out. And that typically denotes about 2 months from this period, the Super Bowl. We both know that is the singular largest sex trafficking pedophilia agenda and exercise that they do each and every single year. What we want to do is continue to do what we always do is gen up more awareness of this to the public, whoever be watching, new followers, et cetera, who may not know that, and it goes into the fold and the construct of things. I too have unfortunately been at parties where it was very clandestine what was going on, and I just out and out left when I saw those, not the sex acts or the pedophilia, because I didn't know to the extent that was going on. I suspected, but I couldn't prove it. But just the nefarious element, I was just like, it was making my soul vomit, and I just had to
Yeah,
leave. So
for sure.
I've left those parties that seemed like regular innocent get together parties, and it turns into something after mid 9:30. For some reason, they picked 9:30 over here in California to do the beginning of their bidding, and I was like, no, I don't want any part of that. So I left. I've talked over the years about the studio work that I've done and seeing things that just didn't feel right going on, and I had to either change the atmosphere or leave altogether. So no, I'm very, very familiar with what you're discussing. But I want to encourage the audience that people are frustrated. I get that. We all go through our bouts. We're battling between the emotional and the logical side because we're humans. We're in this body, and it's Ephesians 6:12, spiritual warfare, once again, because it's the battle of flesh versus spirit. So people want answers. They want it yesterday. On one side, I completely understand that, and I support the desire for truth. At the same time, we're only going to get one shot at this to do it right. So don't assume, folks, because you haven't seen it yet, that it's not happening. Resist that urge to be cynical or let your frustration overtake you. I just had a couple of days ago, Scott, the great Sandy Marecki, retired Lieutenant Air Force Colonel, test pilot, best of the best. You know her well. And she said much the same thing, that it is mission driven, but it's also algorithm driven. So the military is also using certain factions of the military and certain departments, whatnot, are using AI more than others to help calculate the algorithm of the ideal timing to strike, which we are never going to know. It's above our pay grade. But a point of it is we take all this information, we put it into a pot, and we try to elicit the best that we're able as humans, the most likely predictable outcome to look for what everyone's looking for. So you're helping in the panacea of that to get that out. So thank you. Let's shift from one fun topic, sarcastically, to another. You mentioned it, which is the push for the Muslim agenda, Sharia law. I spoke to a friend not too long ago in Kent. I think that's what, an hour or two outside of London in the countryside or thereabouts, depending on traffic. And he tells me that, they're having a problem trying to sell their house to someone who's not Muslim, that they are purposely, procreating to expand their cultural base and to try to have domination. And that is something we definitely here in the US need to stand up and be aware of and stop that. So I ask you, with your similar intel that you have that I don't have from your side with Tom Homan, what, if anything, is being done to combat and stop that beyond raising awareness of it?
That's a great question. I do want to say before I answer your question that I will only do podcasts where I believe the host is doing his best to tell the truth to the best of your ability. I know you're trying to get truth out. Sovereign Radio is all about putting out the truth and then offering up solutions. And that's where you're going with this. What is being done about the Islamic Caliphate push to bring Sharia law to the West? And what's noteworthy and visible, witness Minneapolis, what Trump just did, cutting off all the funding for the Somalis. And there, I did see videos now. ICE is there in Minneapolis removing the illegal Somalis. There are many good Somali families that are here and contributed, but this is the burning question about the Islamic Caliphate and the push for Sharia law in the West, John. If you get a Muslim man, and I had a neighbor, my daughter played with his children. He had two children, one was my daughter's age, and they played together and they got along well, and we got along well. We did a couple barbecues with them. And one time I asked him, if push came to shove and the caliphate was at your doorstep and said to you as a Muslim, you're with us or against us, you will help us convert your next door neighbor, this guy Scotty over here. You'll get him to convert, or you'll help us accomplish our agenda. And if you're not with us, you're against us, and your head will be cut off too, because you're a good Muslim man, and you're supposed to push help us push Sharia law. And they are. He acknowledges that is expected of them. As Muslim men, they're expected to conform to all aspects of the Islam culture, and that includes Sharia law. And he said to me what he would do at that time. He would make that decision. He really was kind of torn. But I have a feeling, John, most will side with their Islamic Muslim Brotherhood and the Caliphate. I don't think a lot of the American Muslim men who are, I say American, those that are born here and raised here would probably side with us. But those that came here from other countries and born and raised in other Muslim countries and came here practicing Islamic culture, it's not even about a religion. I don't even know if it's a religion, John. I mean, they say it's a religion, but it's more of a movement. It's a culture. Many people are calling it a cult now, because when you talk about off with your head, convert, become a Muslim, or off with your head. Those are our two choices, as you know, and I know, as a Judeo-Christian society. We either conform to their way of life when they bring it here, or they kill us. That's our two options: become a Muslim and convert and put our hijabs on our wives and
Hmm.
girlfriends, and or we're off with our heads. And I think it's heading for a clash in some American cities. Uh, I don't know of any Minneapolis friends of mine, American born and raised, that are confronting Somalis head on. They'd like to. I think they're reserving um, their time and effort to hoping that the federal government will come in and do something about this. Will the federal government come into cities and take down cities like Dearborn, Michigan, that are now operating openly with Sharia law? Um, Places in New Jersey, Michigan, Tennessee. I was told in Denver, Colorado, a suburb, children were put on a mat in a public school, on a Muslim mat, to pray to Allah. No, we can't pray to God in the Christian prayer. Jewish prayer is not allowed in schools, but now Muslim prayer is. Think about that. Kids in public school put on a mat to pray to Allah. And the principal, when confronted by parents, said, like it or leave my school, I'm going to continue to do it. What was his answer to the parents? And he's an American guy. He's not even a Muslim guy. So what pressure is he under? Who is he being paid by?
Hmm.
He's not doing this willingly, I don't think. I think there's some pressure coming somewhere. And that's the whole thing that we're seeing now. It's such a movement and it's such a force. We see them coming to Christian places of worship outside of churches. We see thousands of Muslims showing their force and flexing their muscles and showing up at churches and in Allah Akbar and all the crap that they'll say. So I can only tell you that from a local level, I am working with the same intelligence source although he's not really hands-on, he's consulting us. We're working on an organization called SIN, Stop Islam Now. And we are going to go after their heart of the matter, which is where are they getting their money? We're going to go after their money first. If you do your homework and research, the 9 Islamic, not Muslim, Islamic organizations in Southern California alone, from CARE to San Diego to LA to Riverside County, there are 9 Islamic organizations all pushing Sharia law. The caliphate is here to stay in Southern California. And when you get under the surface of their funding, you start to see it's like in Somalia. I mean, like in Minneapolis with the Somalians, it's taxpayer money. It's nefarious money. It's coming from mortgage fraud and tax dollars and every which way, footloose and fancy free money being thrown at the Islamic Caliphate. By who? By the globalists. It's part of they're another tool of the globalist agenda. I'm sure you agree. The Islamic Caliphate hasn't come to the West operating alone. They're not marching into Southern California operating independently. That disrupts society, mess with our psyche. I mean, this whole thing messes with my psyche, especially, as I said earlier, the human trafficking. If you're of sound mind and body, how can it not mess with your psyche, right? When you think about what they're doing to the kids, when you think about America, our culture, our Judeo Christian principles that are now being challenged by an Islamic caliphate that's pushing Sharia law where women have no rights. Interesting. I just watched a video of girls, 20 something women in New York celebrating Mandani, dancing Sharia law. We got Sharia law. Do they not understand what that truly means to them as women? They'll be thrown in hijabs and covered from head to toe in no time. And all their rights will be taken away. They just don't understand it. They don't understand what Mamdani and Sharia law represents, or they wouldn't be cheering for it, obviously. Well, this is a real process of education and exposure. And thank goodness there are podcasters like you willing to stick your neck out. And that's what we're doing right now. You know, when we talk about these subjects, these are not child's play. Neither one of these subjects is child's play. These are very serious subjects. Witness our getting cut off in the middle of our podcast. They don't want us talking about this. But because it's a military mission and because it's all roads lead to the military, I don't believe from a timing standpoint, John, we're ever going to really know until it happens. I don't think there's any warning coming as to when they take down, you know, the and public, most importantly, publicly exposure. Exposure publicly from the military is what we're waiting for.
Exactly. No, there are serious subjects, but they're important subjects. I would argue that they're probably the most important subjects top down. And it's not a religion, it's a satanic agenda. It's Ephesians 6:12. Here we go again. You know, it all pulls back to the middle. This is a threat to our country. This is a threat to myself as a Christian, you as a Christian Jew, you know, which we need to support. Again, the nation of Israel, not the state of Israel. There's a very important symbolic distinction between the two, right? The Caesarian
yeah, I make the distinction between the people and the government.
The government,
being run by a guy like Netanyahu, who's not a good guy. He's played both sides of the fence, as we know.
Right.
And it's the good people of Israel, the good people of the UK, the good people of Ireland that are all being pushed to the brink with this Islamic movement, as well as the human trafficking, because it is a global problem. But the caliphate in the UK has succeeded. I don't know if the UK can recover now.
Well, that's what I was talking about my friend in Kent. And not to mention, Scott, I looked at the statistical analysis not too long ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Muslim population is one of the fastest growing populations on the planet. I think it's quickly overtaking the Hispanic population. And, you know, when did you ever think you would see that? So it's really something that we need to be very self-aware and talk about and start to build up a strategy against that. Because again, we're in the end times. Let's make no mistake about it. I'm willing to stick my neck out because if we're not going to tell the truth, there's no point to have this show. That's why you're here. And so we are in the end times, and this is part of what was foretold throughout the Bible. And so we need to be aware of it. We need to pray about it. I'm rebuking it constantly that it will not take hold here in America, and that it will get reversed. But it's the collection of we the people that need to stand up against that and take a stand in action, not just in words. And that's, you know, where this conversation I think can start and stop as far as that goes. Pivoting
John,
to
let me
no,
add one
please,
thing. Part
yeah,
part
go
of the
ahead.
Islamic Caliphate mission, and this extends down to the average Muslim family. You touched on it. Part of their mission is to procreate Americans 5 and 6 to 1. And they brag about it. I had a Muslim guy that bragged to me. He's like, "What's wrong with you American men? You can't even have kids anymore. You have 1 or 2 kids and you stop. We're going to have 5, 6, and 7 per household, and we're going to outnumber you." 2050 is on their radar screen. They're looking at 2050 to 2060 to outnumber American Muslim born in the US children will outnumber American born children by the year 2050. It's not that far away, 25 years away. That's their plan. Procreate, out procreate us 5 and 6 to 1. And how do you combat that? I don't see Americans going, okay, we'll match you 1 to 1. I'm going to go have 5 and 6 kids. It's going to happen, is it? And it is part of their mindset, down to the average Muslim man who will tell you, yeah, I'd love to have 4 or 5, 6 kids. They do love their kids, but to what extent does a woman in a Muslim country love her children when she's willing to sacrifice them to the jihadis and rejoice in their killing of the Jewish people or Christian, right? Christians and Jews are murdered, and moms celebrate their young Muslim boys killing Christians and Jews, and they're willing to sacrifice them. What is it? 72 virgins they're supposedly going to get in the next life. And I saw a video just yesterday of 3 Muslim women, happy as can be that their young boys have left this earth and gone to the next life with their 72 virgins. And they were so proud of their boys for being used as tools in the toolbox to explode bombs and to kill. You know, they're taught at a very young age. From the time they walk, they're taught to hate, and hatred is inbred because this is how they're raised. And it's. I don't know if I'm going to live to 2050. I'm 65 years old. I'd love to live to 90 and see what happens. But your question was what is being done? And I think whatever is being done at a federal level by the military is very hush hush, except for Minneapolis now. Trump, rightfully so, used that as an example of what this really means to America. Not only there's people out procreating us, they're stealing our tax dollars and living off of the sweat of our back and laughing at us. I mean, they're mocking us along the way. It's really, we need to wake up. So I'm glad you're doing this podcast because I think this is a wake up call. I think your audience is pretty plugged in, though, is aware
Oh
of
yeah,
most of this stuff. We're just confirming what they know. But
right.
share this podcast with your friends and family that don't know, that suffer from that cognitive dissonance that I did until 2009. I mean,
Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm told by Johnny Cash in 1989 that it's a Luciferian satanic cult that runs the world. I'm told by Peter Jennings that everything is a construct and narrative that we see on TV.
Right.
He's reading CIA written copy points, right? And it's a construct and a narrative fit an agenda. I'm
Mhm.
not buying into it. I'm being told firsthand from the people who know, and I'm not. So cognitive dissonance is a tough thing to shake, and that's what we're trying to do here is get people out of that mindset that, well, I didn't grow up believing that, and I'm not going to believe it now.
Right.
these
No,
things, these subjects we're talking about today.
indeed. I mean, both of our audiences are extremely plugged in, and what I like is that they're hungry and they're seeking. And um, what we generally, as you do, strive to do is nobody's perfect. We're human beings. Nobody gets it right 100% of the time, except for God. So what we want people to do is take it back to the Lord and get confirmation or adjustment with respect to their discernmental authority, heighten their discernmental authority, their frequency of thought, and give them genuine, not hopium, but genuine encouragement about, the best that we can see in our purview, the looking glass, however you want to call it, to give them that sort of legitimate nurturing effect that will allow them to build on that. So if they're still trying to help their families understand it, little breadcrumbs along the way. And I think that's ultimately what the military is doing, is giving us breadcrumbs from the top down. We in the informational journalistic integrity side here are doing our level best to do that, and then passing it on. And it's like, it's, branches of a tree extending downward till you get to the ground level, terra firma. Last discussion piece today, a little bit lighter than the other two, but equally important in importance, is the financial side. Not because of greed or avariciousness, but we've always believed on our side that as God's giving people, and people who would be Christians or, Jews of the faith, or maybe come back to their faith, depending on their vantage point, giving them sovereignty and freedom so that they can effectuate changes in their own family and their respective communities, like I think most everyone does plan to do and wants to do from the mind to the heart. And so that's always been our seminal purpose of focusing on the financial aspect, because Trump said, he who has the gold makes the rules. So the folks who have the money, you just went into great articulation about that and how our tax money has been used to mock us from every step of the way. And there's too many things to discuss there. But I think right now, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Scotty, and I'll let you expound on that as always, is the thing that's really predominating the financial news cycle, I would say in the last week or two, is silver. We know its inherent importance in manufacturing, its scarcity, and supply is going to become the issue. This article just came out. I wanted to share it with you. Thought it was pretty noteworthy. And this comes from, let me know when you can see this, Scotty. This is from Crypto Briefing. Are you able to see that now?
I see. Now I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it takes a minute. So silver, this just came up this morning, Thursday morning. Silver overtakes Microsoft to become the world's fifth largest asset by market cap. And here we go. Cap is surging above 3.59 trillion. This record rally was driven by inflation hedge demand. We just had a rate cut yesterday, another 25 basis points. Predictable Powell, I'm calling him, on his way out. They're about to announce a new Fed chair, and we think this is a temporary move. If they pick Kevin Hassett, we know he's a pro-crypto, low to no interest rates guy, to blow up the proverbial bubble. As we're talking right now, Scotty, before I turn this over to you in a moment, just looking at factual data on the futures market, silver is hovering right now at about $64.56. It's been up about 5-6% over the last couple of days. Gold is rising at 43.15. Crude oil is down. The Dixie is down. That's the perfect storm and temperature for the bubble to inflate to its maximum capacity before it pops and we see said reset we're all anticipating. So as I turn it over to you, what legitimate encouraging signs do you see regarding the reset, public, private, whatever, and the importance that silver plays in the role of what we're waiting for?
Well, let's start with the importance. Haggai 2 verses 8, the gold and silver are mine, said the Lord. He didn't say Microsoft is mine, said the Lord. He said the gold and silver are mine.
Right.
And so we know it's biblical. We know it's a God-given asset. And along those lines, I think it's important to point out to your audience, they may not have heard this before, that the 209 sovereign nations that are part of the reset all have in-ground assets, and they're not equal. We've got a lot of oil. We've got a lot of gold and silver. Colombia has coffee beans. South Africa has diamonds. All these in-ground assets were measured by Google Earth some years ago to determine the value of these in-ground assets, which are in perpetuity. God doesn't cancel. Coffee's been growing abundantly in Colombia since they've been keeping track of this, right? Diamonds have been in the mines of South Africa since the beginning of time. Oil in Texas since the beginning of time. Our in-ground assets are permanent. And God provided them, and they're therefore being used to assess the value of a country's currency. So Colombia can't use gold and silver to value their currency. We can in the US. They can use coffee beans and they can use other in ground assets. South Africa will use their abundance in diamonds underground. In ground assets were measured. I think that's the most fascinating thing about the reset is that
Mhm.
God given assets will be used. Talk about a system, a sound money system. It's a God given system, as you pointed out. Silver, what role does it play? Well, we know its fundamental gold and silver are going to back the US dollar, while stable coins or cryptocurrency help the system speed along. XLM, XRP, these are stable coins that will be used to move transactions across the system. The blockchain, I don't understand the technical, but XRP is actually built into the system because it's the vehicle that's pushing the transaction along. In seconds, I will send money to John Dowling. It will not go through a bank. In the reset, John, it's peer to peer, company to company. No more banks in the middle of our transactions. That's the beautiful thing. The bank will not have access to our funds. You know, it's interesting. You get a deposit in your account and the bank can hold it for several days, right? They say, no, that money's not available. It's in your account, but it's not available. Why is that? Because they're sitting on millions of Americans' deposits each day, making money for who? For the bank, not allowing us to have access to it for a day or two or three. I don't think it's 3 days anymore, but I've waited 2 days for them to release money that was deposited into my account. Recently, I waited 48 hours for a deposit that came from a customer of mine. And it was a new customer. They didn't recognize the source. They held the money for 2 days to make sure it was going to clear. It was a bank wire. What do you mean, make sure it's going to clear? It was a bank wire from their bank.
Right.
You're going to use the money for those 2 days. The beautiful part of the new system is gold and silver back currencies in the United States. It's stable coins, XRP, XLM are a composite built into the system. Is that it is a God given system. Isn't this? I mean, think about it. We are really the sound money system we're going to. The 209 nations will use in ground assets to value their currency. I think that's so exciting and so tremendous. It's really a stunning revelation to know that that's where we should have been for years and years, right? Instead of this
Yeah.
central banking system with central banks. Why is Putin in Russia the boogeyman? Because he kicked the Rothschild Bank out years ago. That's
Right.
why our media makes him out. He won't refuses a central banking institution. Russia doesn't have a central bank of Rothschild or Rockefeller or J.P. Morgan or the Pesos of France. All these bloodlines that have controlled banking are going to be pushed to the side in lieu of natural in-ground assets, gold and silver, diamonds, coffee beans, as I said. And it's a very exciting time. Again, timing, we don't know. You and I get told all the time dates, and they come and they go, right? They
Yeah.
just come and they go. So I don't even think
Right.
about it anymore. I don't listen to that chatter. Certainly
Right.
don't go to the blogs online for that kind of chatter. And when I'm told from a good source, like you may hear something, I may hear something, we have a mutual source that I've introduced you to. He has a lot of inside baseball information, but it is as much I believe when dates are thrown out, it's as much disinformation as it is information. Because John, if you and I know when the switch is going to be flipped on the new system, that means the cabal knows. If you and I know, the bad guys know for sure that are much greater intelligence sources than we have. So it's one of those things that will be thrust upon us in very short notice. Trump could hold a press conference tomorrow and announce the asset-backed currency, right? It's possible. You can do it tomorrow. The system is ready. The U.S. Treasury notes printed by the Treasury, backed by gold and silver, are sitting in the bank vaults. They're there. I've seen the money. I think you've seen the currency, the rainbow currency. So it's there. The system is in place. They've just tested the last couple of months. They've been testing the system, running transactions through the system. BRICS is using nation to nation. They're using a quantum financial system,
the unit,
to transact country to country, not person to person yet. So it's not made its way to retail, but it's being used amongst nations to trade now, this new system. And it's an exciting time to be alive, because we're going to, with the elimination of human trafficking and pedophilia to a great extent. I don't think you'll ever eliminate it completely. We'll never eliminate financial fraud and crimes, although the blockchain will eliminate 90% of it, because you can't bring dark money into the blockchain. Every dollar has to have provenance, has to have a legitimate source coming in to the new system. That's the best thing about the system. You can't bring money from drugs and human trafficking. If it doesn't have provenance and they can't trace it, legit sources, you won't be able to put it into the system. So very, very exciting time to be alive, to watch this transition that Kennedy started, tried to implement, right? He signed an executive order, put us back on this gold standard. He got shot down literally. And Trump is picking up the ball and running with it. And we know how close we are. That could happen any day now as well. So while we don't know the timing, we know the fundamentals are sound. Gold and silver in the US, other in-ground assets around the world, with a stable coin, a cryptocurrency built into the system to speed the transaction along. I'll send John Dowling money, and in 3 seconds, you'll have receipts that I sent you money, and we don't need a bank to do it. I love that. I love that part, that the banks are being eliminated and the central bankers are being sidelined, and many of them will spend the rest of their life in Gitmo.
which is just fine by us.
Yeah, certainly.
Particularly Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan, not our friend.
Yeah, maybe he may have made a deal. Maybe, guys like that, they might keep around because of their knowledge base. They've got so much knowledge of the past. Who knows? I hope not. I hope they didn't make a deal with him.
Well, either that, or maybe, a stand-in or a double's been put in his place. We just don't know. There's so many, moves and counter moves.
Very true. How many times has Trump referred to central casting?
Exactly. Good point.
There are actors playing politicians and business executives.
Well, it's what you said before. We're in a scripted matrix. So if you know what the movie is, and you know what the game is, then you know how to work, counterintuitive against it to put yourself and others you care about in the best possible position, which is what we're both wholly tasked in part to do. It was a good synopsis, the way you put everything together. I appreciate that. I'm smiling because we just had a show. Thanks to you, by the way. Props to you. You brought us a lot of great people on this channel, thanks to Sovereign Radio's affiliation relationship, like Marjorie Wildcraft.
That's what it's all about, man.
That's all about.
We do it.
On the food side, and making friends with the farmers, and how to do it from a strategic standpoint, because that is another form of the wealth transfer, land and growing your own food, becoming your own central bank, right? And then the other part of it, well, many parts of it, but we just had good friend, thanks to you, Rob Cunningham, who you recommended many, many months ago. Glad you did. He did a great synopsis on XRP and how it runs the blockchain. That should be coming.
Brilliant, isn't he?
Oh,
it's so knowledgeable about those things.
And he makes it palpable for the people at the same time.
He uses the word immutable. I'm sure he used the word immutable on your show.
He does. Yep.
And that's I'm not sure I can describe it well. Go look it up, but it means it's absolute. Immutable transactions. The transactions will be absolute, confirmed in seconds, and take it to the bank without using a bank. Love it. It's such an exciting new system. And Rob is brilliant when it comes to cryptocurrency and as he described, stable coins being used to back the system and move the system along. And I can't explain that for the life of me, but XRP is a medium, is a tool to push the transaction across the blockchain. That's the only way I can describe it.
Well, it is, particularly as he talked about XRPL is the key, that is the uh, agitator that makes the whole system run. So it feeds off that. And Ripple itself is a utility. So again, we're not financial advisors or anything, but we recommend to people is if you're investing in cryptos, look for cryptos that have utility, real-time asset settlement, backed by or pegged by precious metals,
Yep.
because it's going to make not only the crypto go, but the cryptos are actually, we just had not too long ago, earlier this week, Mark Z and his son Zester, who's also another expert on the blockchain crypto side, and he made a good point about the fact that the crypto or the blockchain specifically component is giving your precious metal power. It is not only helping it preserve your wealth, but actually becomes a wealth growth. So it makes it go on offense. And I think the dichotomy of the two is so important and complementary. So, yes. So I will end with asking you the last question. This is just your own personal opinion. Nobody's holding a gun to your head because nobody knows the exact date, as you said. No, we can't. What we're looking at is puzzle pieces, timeframes, what we see from the president, trying to interpret it, prayer, the prophetic. It's a lot of things laced together. It's our approach on it. And everybody has their own approach, and that's fine. What is your, because again, we don't go by dates and rates, and neither do you, and you already articulated why. But with all that said, with what you know to be true, what you're getting from your side, are you optimistic that there's a good possibility in the first quarter next year this goes down?
Yeah, I would, if you asked me timing, I would say the next 90 days through first quarter. So what is that, 100 and some days till the end of March? I think we're in that window. I would be shocked if we leave first quarter without a financial reset. I really would. And you and I have been told for years it's coming, it's coming, it's here next weekend, the following week. We've heard it over and over again, but I think now is the time uh, for the financial system, the new sound money system, to rear its beautiful head and be implemented. I think we're in that 90, 100-day window. I really do.
I agree with, and here's why. Two reasons, primarily. Number one, so I know you're busy and you got a lot of stuff on your plate and you're interviewing a lot, but we've had a guy on our team, Mr. B, that's really good at the stock market, S&P, Keynesian side, the old system, and using his predictive indexes and analytics and such to kind of tell a story about where the market is and where it's headed. He has been saying, to his credit, for the last roughly year and a half, conservatively, that he was seeing a market crash by late first quarter, roughly March. We've had some other good guests who have said 60 days. So, give or take 60 and 90, obviously. So that's one thing. And so when things seem at their worst, the late great Kim Clement said, there's your climax tension release points, right? We talk about musically, it's the same thing in life. So that's one thing. Number two, you look at the momentum. President Trump, the victory day is officially as a constitutional republic, according to, Sandy Marecki and Derek Johnson and many others have all concurrently agreed that July 4th is the back wall in terms of the constitutional republic. What does he have to do well before that? He has to get the finances in order. If he's going to crash the old system, he has to try to seamlessly transition it by segueing in
Absolutely.
the overlap. And historically, you need about two quarters of GDP cycle to reflect in the economy, especially when you're going to have a victory day like this. You've got the midterms coming up. So you have to have all that momentum. As far as I know, I'm not a politician, thank God, but the people that are often talk about you need at least a year's worth of campaigning before the actual vote, right? Which we know has been rigged, but that's another story for another day. So from a financial standpoint, you need that momentum. And so logically, you would think that first quarter next year, we know a lot's going to happen. You have Bissent talking about tax refunds and returns. zero interest rates, that's going to just turn on the printer and blow up the remainder of this old system, which will facilitate the crash. And again, what follows that crash? A reset. So all indicators point to, not guaranteed, but a very high probability, as Phoenix would say, of a first quarter shift. And so I'm inclined to agree with you for those reasons.
Yeah, and I think that's fair warning. And again, I am not a financial advisor. In fact, over the years playing the stock market, if I'm buying, you should be selling. If I'm selling, you should be buying. That's how good I haven't been at playing the stock market. But I would say it's a fair bet for people to understand that cash in the bank and cash in the stock market is not a great place to be, because that's the heart and soul of the fiat money system, is the banks and the stock market. And as you have used the word crash, likely to be as bad as 2008, 2009,
Probably worse.
maybe worse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the reasons it's been delayed is Trump and Bassett and team, a lot of smart minds behind this, are taking steps to mitigate that crash so that people don't lose their shirt. But you can't help what's coming. The stock market will take a deep dive. Cash in the bank is suspect, because if banks fold, they'll take your money with it. There is no FDIC. I think the FDIC was out of money after the bank in Northern California. What was that called? Silicon Valley Bank,
Oh yeah,
SVB.
SVB. Yeah.
When it crashed, it took a lot of investors. People had money in the bank that was gone. So, fair warning: money in the bank and money in the stock market's not the best place. And gold and silver and crypto, as we've been talking about for years, we have been saying this for years, and that's why I started rubbing my hands when he talked about silver, because it is such an exciting time. We started talking about silver when it was at $15. And what is it? Hit 60 yesterday, or
No,
62, or
it's as of right now in the futures, it's 64.25.
unbelievable. So here we talked about it at $15, $16 an ounce when I started, advising my audience. Which, by the way, interesting note: Salem radio audience that where my radio show airs is kind of like the Fox News crowd. They're not as plugged in as our online audiences, as our truther online communities. The broadcast radio and broadcast and cable TV audiences of Fox News and Salem, they're very suspect of some of the things we talk about. Again, cognitive dissonance. And so I love bringing them this kind of stuff, because a lot of times they're hearing it for the first time on a Salem radio. And you don't hear any of this on Fox News. They won't discuss any of this.
No, no, of course not. And that's by design. And so I know, as you
Yeah.
were sharing, Scotty, about the banking system and cash in the bank and all that, I know many will say, yeah, but it's the QFS is going to mirror and back up. And it will. That's totally true. But at the same time, the point is to take action and change the mindset. Well, first of all, change the mindset, then take action, because one begets the other. But it's putting the cards in your favor, things that you can physically touch and control, like precious metals, currencies, decentralized currency, cryptos, I should say, in a hardware wallet, cash on hand, food, water source if you have that, sharing with community, foreign currencies, physical things that you have that are tied to, as Rob talked about, the XRPL and the blockchain, and backed by precious metals, because we look at Vietnamese dong, for example, heavily backed by silver and other things. So having physical, tangible assets you can own and control is always your best bet and advantage. And so that's why we've always been really stridently, promoting those things accordingly. So with all that said, Scotty, with the time we have left, tell the audience, if you would, please, where they can find your work and any last words you have for the audience today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Always enjoy collaborating with you. One more quick point. Did Rob talk about X? The letter X in front of an asset designates it as an international asset.
He
X,
did, yes.
RPXLM, they're international, they're global, they're real assets. Very simple. Can find Sovereign Radio at sovereignradio.com, as well as other shows. You have a channel there. We have about 15 other channels: SGN on, Dave Hodges, Sarah Westall. a lot of great shows at sovereignradio.com. And on Saturdays, you can tune in to Salem Radio. It's on the website. There are links there. And it's great. It'd be great to have your audience come over and listen to the radio show. So thank you, sir. Always enjoy talking with you.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. And when we love having you on as well. You bring a lot of wisdom and insight. So thank you so much for that. And then, of course, something you're about to embark on yourself. We talked about it. We have a great vendor sponsor to the channel here with regards to precious metals. And I'm referring to, of course, Colin Plume and the wonderful staff at Noble Gold, who has been very generous and very supportive in every capacity to not only us as a channel, but also to the audience that has bought for them before. So this is the 2025 commemorative silver season's greeting coin that they've minted for a limited time. So if you're looking to get precious metals or add to what you have, or if you have 401k or IRA you want to protect and convert, for qualified accounts, they're giving 10 ounces of this said silver coin, basically half a sleeve, which I think roughly with spot pricing is somewhere between $600 to $650, very generous gift for qualified accounts. So please do check out the good folks at Noble Gold. We'll leave that link below in the video and in the description. Scotty Sachs, Sovereign Radio, thanks for joining us, good sir. We appreciate your time and expertise. Have a wonderful Merry Christmas and Hanukkah to you and your family, and we will look forward to talking with you in the new year.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Take care, John.
God bless.